Hi, this is Dr. Richard Lawrence Pysch. This is my presentation for the consideration for UDL consulting work. What I thought I would do was to give a walkthrough of a lesson that I have taught and a lesson I've also delivered as a professional development activity. And the purpose of this is to use the value, or to look at the value of formative assessment in differentiating instruction. I would start out by telling my audience that there would be 3 goals for this workshop. Number 1, the first goal would be the staff would be able to understand the difference between formative and summative assessment. The second goal would be to have staff understand the different types of formative assessment. And the third goal would be having to have the participants develop a lesson plan that uses formative assessment to moderate instruction. The first thing I would do is to have the participants brainstorm ways of assessing students. This activity could take 3 to 5 minutes. They could work in pairs or individually, and I would have them then place their results up on a board or a chart of some sort, and we would go over all the different types of assessment activities that they would share with us. These ways could be, not limited to, selected response, constructed response, a performance assessment, an essay, observations, self-assessment, a unit exam, criterion referenced exams, state exams, publisher-prepared tests, and portfolios. We would then take some time to discuss how they saw these different assessments falling into different groups, whether they were an end of the summative assessment used for grading, reporting out purposes, or more formative assessment used for differentiating instruction. After we had gotten through this activity, which would basically involve a group discussion, again, I would anticipate this could take 5 to 10 minutes depending on the time. We would then go into a discussion. This would be me leading the group, and I would start this discussion by highlighting the difference between summative and formative assessment. Summative assessment documents student learning for the purpose of reporting out, either to the student or to state departments or to parents or whomever. Summative assessments are typically done at the end of the unit tests, and they are more formal in nature. A formative assessment is designed to get feedback. It's about student understanding, and it is designed to help a teacher monitor and adjust instruction. The next portion of my presentation would be, again, a discussion led by myself with group response as necessary, where we would talk about the relationship between curriculum, assessment, and instruction. Assessment would come at the end of that equation. Assessment was seen then as something that was done maybe once during a unit of instruction and solely for the purpose of reporting out or assigning a grade. We're now coming to see that assessment is something that is done after the curriculum is taught. So a more proper conceptualization of that equation would be curriculum plus assessment should drive instruction. And that's where we look at or see assessment more in terms of formative assessment. When we look at formative assessment, we are basically looking at 3 ways of assessing students. We talk about assessment for instruction, we talk about assessment as instruction, and we talk about assessment of instruction. When we talk about assessment for instruction, we're really talking about giving a pre-test. And this is something that I think teachers may be familiar with, may have actually done in their class. Again, at this point in the presentation, we may have a discussion from the participants as to the types of pre-assessments they may have done in the past. When we talk about assessment as instruction, we're really getting at the core of assessment as formative assessment. Here we may go back to the types of assessment that the teachers put up on the board or the chart earlier and look at what types of those assessments may be more appropriately done as formative assessment. This could be something as a spot check test, an observation, a criterion reference test, but the key here is that the test is given more for the purpose of giving feedback to the teacher. The teacher then can see which students are getting the material, understanding the material at a proficiency level, which students may need some enrichment, and which students may need remediation. At that point, then the student would then design instruction to meet the needs of the varying levels of student engagement. And again, the last purpose of assessment is assessment of instruction. This may be more properly thought of as the formative, the more summative assessment, where assessment is designed for reporting out purposes or to assign a grade. Again, when we look at the equation, curriculum plus assessment should drive instruction. Increasingly, we're seeing that curriculum is tied into standards, what we want students to know, and are they able to do. Again, instruction or assessment, is designed to give feedback to the teacher for the purposes of differentiation. And instruction then should be driven off the types of information or data that this teacher gets from the different types of formative assessments that she or she may give. To differentiate instruction, there are three broad categories that we may look at. Differentiation can occur in the content, it can occur in the processes, and it can occur in the product. Different types of differentiation could include multiple assignments, giving students choice, structured assignments, and learning centers. Overall, what we're looking at is a balanced assessment approach where not only is the teacher giving the summative assessment to give a grade or end of the unit or reporting out, but we're looking at formative assessment as well, so that the teacher may then at midpoint or some point in the instruction monitor that instruction so that the students who need extra help, extra support are given that, students who need enrichment or acceleration are provided for as well. Toward the end of the professional development activity, I may ask the staff then to come up with a lesson plan of their own, and in that I would be looking for them to use the equation curriculum plus assessment, how that would drive their instruction. Depending on the nature of the professional development, since a lot of the literature says that the most effective professional development with adults is to give them something that they can use immediately in their classroom situation and then derive some feedback from, I would then recommend that the teachers then go back and actually teach that lesson to a class, the curriculum plus assessment, driving instruction, their choice of curriculum, what standards they were trying to address, what type of assessment they would give for what purpose, and how did that feedback they got from that assessment, how then they would differentiate their instruction, particularly with respect to giving students extra help, those who needed extra help, and how they would give students who showed that they would need enrichment. So then having then taught that to their class, an actual lesson, when we got back together, hopefully within a short period of time, we would do again a sharing out activity where the teachers just in a very casual, random way would share their thoughts with one another as to how they felt this approach to learning was effective. That would be the end of my presentation. Thank you.